With so much going on in AI all the time, it is super hard to keep up with all the different tools and platforms. I personally do a lot of copywriting for my business and for people in my payment processing world. So I tend to focus on Claude and occasionally even Claude Code, which leaves me out of the loop on a lot of different aspects, including Gemini. I don't really use Gemini or haven't used Gemini, but my guest today, Jason Schemmel, he is fantastic with Gemini, and he talks about all kinds of things I didn't even know you could do with it. So if you're into AI, if you want to see how Gemini works and how it integrates with all your different Google tools and Gmail and things like that, keep watch this video because it is fantastic, and Jason goes over a lot of great stuff.
Cloud Code seems very intriguing to me just because of what you can do with it. If you explain to the AI enough, or at least give it enough detail of this is what I'm hoping to accomplish, this is what I want to do, help me figure out like what that path is going to look like to build this. And I imagine that's something that you did with your with your extension when you said like you're not a
Mhm.
coder, but you were still able to build this extension, which is really cool. Um,
Mhm.
AI is really good at filling those gaps. But for me, the one I use the most is Gemini, just because it connects with all of my Google products, because I use Gmail, Drive,
Mhm.
and all of those products. So it integrates with all of those. If I lose an email in my inbox, which can happen and all that stuff, I'm like, hey, I remember having this conversation with this person. We talked about this thing. Where can I find this email so I can at least pick that up and keep that going again? You can
I
also
didn't even know
set.
it did that.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can. Well, Gemini, it's a Google product, so it integrates with all that
Sure.
stuff. But it saved my butt a handful of times, especially my drive too, because I like to think my drive is organized, but then I go into it and I'm like, where did I put this? 'Cause where I put it, I'm sure made sense at the time, but now it's like having that recall a week or two later of like, why can't I find this? I thought I put it in a good spot, but then I can just ask Gemini like, hey, I'm looking for this document, this video, something like that, and it can help me find it and pull it up that way, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. And see, I've never Gemini is the one I don't use or I haven't used. I primarily focus on Claude. Of course, back when I started, it was Chat GPT, but I've moved to Claude,
Mhm.
especially for copy. What do you so you find for most things, Gemini is equally as good and it connects to your Google stuff? That's kind of what you're thinking, or what?
Yeah, I find Gemini to be kind of the Swiss Army knife of the AI LLMs right now. I mean, the image creation tool Nano Banana is fantastic.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, I
Another
like that.
Yeah, I mean, because I used to use Midjourney, I used to use Ideogram. They still create top-notch quality images and stuff, but for more on the basic to intermediate level that I'm looking for, like I just need some images put together to maybe create slides for a presentation or just some images for a website or a funnel. Nano Banana does a fantastic job with that, especially on the wording and lettering too, like the level of detail there.
Hmm.
As we've seen in the past, a lot of AIs are like they'll hallucinate a little bit and try and like merge some of the letters together, give someone six or seven fingers, something like that. Nano
Right.
Banana is not too bad with that, which is nice. But the other thing within Gemini, I also really like, and I'm honestly not sure if any of the other AI tools do this yet.
Mhm.
If they don't, I know it's around the corner. But with Gemini, I can upload a video and have it critique the video. Like it will look at so like one of my clients, she's a real estate agent.
Mhm.
I'll have her create some videos for some ads that we're producing for her Facebook ads. And so I'll have Gemini help me write out a script, give it to her. She records it. Her video editor goes through, makes all of the cuts, puts in all of the B-roll, all of the images to like all the swiping in and out, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And then the finished video, I can upload that into Gemini and then say, hey, act as my, expert world-class videographer, um, skilled at creating social, like very attention-grabbing social media videos and
Mhm.
say, I have this video now, just like tear it apart and help me rebuild it. What's great about this? What can we do better? How can we optimize and enhance this so that it grabs attention within the first 3 to 5 seconds, maintains attention, but is also highly converting so that by the time they get halfway through the video, they want to watch the rest of the video. At the end of the video, they're compelled to convert, whether that be to sign up, to purchase, to book a call, whatever. And doesn't matter how, as far as what I've tested it with, 5 minute videos, upwards of 30-minute videos.
Mhm.
I can upload just one video and it'll go through the whole thing and then take me like step by step from 3 to 5 seconds. I would recommend you do this. From 10 to 20 seconds, she says this. I would recommend you switch it and talk about this instead to keep the flow going.
Interesting. So do you know, is it actually watching the video or is it just taking the transcript? Like, does it give you feedback on the visuals or is it
Yes.
just the script itself? It
No,
is the
it's not
visuals.
just the transcript, it's the visuals itself too, because
That's
there's
interesting.
yes. Oh, I know. That blew my mind the first time it told me that. Because at first I just asked it like, what video editing capabilities do you have? And it listed it out and it mentioned visual components too. So like I first thought just like you, it would just take the transcript of it, but then it's also seeing the different visuals that the video editor had put in and the different B-roll and even the like the color flares and stuff. So like her brand is more like her whole thing is called peanut butter and jelly. She wants to make buying a house just as easy as it is to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like that's her shtick, which is really
Cute.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so her primary colors are orange and purple, the colors of peanut butter and jelly. And so there's a lot of color flares and like her background is purple. And so the video editor tries to offset that with some orange hues and things like that. And so Gemini will call that out like, oh, there's a bit too much orange in here. The purple is overpowering here and or it blends in with the text overlays and stuff that we have. So it will then give me some ideas on how we can switch that and change it up a little bit so that there's more contrasting colors. It's not blending in as much and it's an easier video to watch, which is pretty cool.
Is it at the point where it can actually make the changes for you, or is it just gives you the suggestions?
I haven't tested if it can make those changes for me. Right now, I just have it tell me what edits,
That's
what
cool.
notes do I bring back to the video editor so that we can optimize this. I don't know if it's there yet. At least it hasn't offered to do it for me, where it would say like,
Gotcha.
"Hey, do you want me to make these edits?"
Hmm.
But
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, the way AI is going, that wouldn't surprise me if by the end of the year, like, hey, some of these AI tools can do it all.
Yeah, it sounds like I think VO3 is supposed to be good at making videos and that kind of thing. So it seems I
Yep.
don't know if that's a Google product or not, but it seems like that would be right in line with the same type of thing.
Right. I think so. If you have the account side of it, the subscription enough to
Hmm.
to do that and make the video for you, I'm sure you could do that.
That's cool. Well, I like this. This is I know nothing about Gemini, so let's keep going. Let's keep going on
Sure.
about this. I'll just throw on an intro at the beginning, and I'll just cut it into when we started talking about Gemini.
Yeah,
So
sounds
yeah,
good.
so you use it for ads too, I'm assuming.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. I
So
have
it
it create ad copy for me and add ideas, hook ideas, all that stuff, all the fun stuff.
Very cool. So because yeah, I agree. I've used Gemini basically for Nano Banana. That's been pretty much all I've used it for.
Yep.
Um, so is it? And I would just have it create single images. Can it also do things like just make different iterations of an image? I much
Absolutely.
prefer video ads, but as far
Mhm.
as simplicity of testing, it's obviously an image is going to be way easier to have it create a bunch of different images to test than make new videos.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a I mean, it just works in with the conversation that you have with it. If you're able to explain your offer, your website, or whatever it is that you're working on, like, hey, I want to work on this offer. It's for this audience, and this is the type of thing that we're going to be covering. And then you can just say, based off of this information and what you know about me, create an image that would help me communicate and portray what this offer is about. And it'll give you a first iteration, and it may be good, it may not be, but at least from there, it gives you a starting point where you can then critique it and be like, hey, change this, change that, and go about it from that way.
For sure. Awesome. So it connects with Google products. Do you know, what else do you use it for? How else does it connect to other things as well?
Another thing that I'm getting into, and I feel late to the game just because I've been seeing so many other people talk about it as well, but Notebook LM, which I believe is a Google product. I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure.
I think so. Yeah.
Um, but I've been trying to use that as more of a content repository where like for me I love watching influencers and the bigger people who are staying on top of all the AI stuff just so I can stay in the know and understand who my audience is talking who they're talking about, what they're listening to, what type of information they're bringing in. But for me, it's really hard to stay on top of all spending all that time to stay on top of all of that stuff as I'm trying to implement it myself so that I can say like, hey, this works, this doesn't work. Um, and staying in that type of vein. So I'm starting to use Notebook LM where I can make it as a repository of especially YouTube videos. So there's a few people in the AI space that I love listening to. Jonathan Mast and Sabrina Romanoff are like my top two. And
Hmm.
so what I can do in Notebook LM is just copy and paste the links to their videos in Notebook LM. And then I can connect that over to Gemini and say, hey, based off of all of the information that is within all of these videos, help me create a PDF document or even just a trainer course in my tone and voice where I can help articulate and communicate the information that they're putting together so that way I can better serve my audience. And it can do
Okay.
that. And
So
and
you
it's pretty
can,
cool.
that is good. So it can summarize their videos, maybe take the main points, and then you have. So is that like a separate project then to run it into your voice, or is that just automatically built in somehow?
I have it as a separate project. So Notebook LM will have a different folder per project. You can upload upwards of 50 different sources. So I do just one video at a time, 50 videos in there. And then I can have it summarized, bring it over to Gemini. And then because I've had so many conversations with Gemini, it understands how I talk, my tonality, and the verbiage that I use, and then just able to put it in words that I would typically use. And obviously, I'm still going through and editing. I'm not going to copy and paste exactly what
Hmm.
AI gives me. There still has to
Right.
be that human iteration in it, but it
Absolutely.
gives me a good starting point, or at least a good first draft before I start pushing it out and be like, hey, these are things that I've learned. These are things that I've been watching over the past couple of weeks that I think are really interesting that you guys might get some value out of as well.
Very cool. So does just talk about what you're talking about for the memory there in like Claude or Chat GPT. As far as I've used it, I need to like create a project where I've uploaded a bunch of like my documents, my emails and whatnot to have it get my voice and those kind of things. Are you saying that with Gemini, I don't need to do that because I've just talked to it and it'll already understand that? Is there kind of a
Mm.
larger memory that it has as opposed to individual projects to take it from here, run it through this other thing, then run it to this other project and run it through this third project to really tie it all together? Are you saying Gemini, I don't need to do that anymore?
On the base level of it, no, you don't need to do that. It definitely
Cool.
still helps, especially if you're starting out. If you're using Gemini for like the first time, or if you haven't been using it that much, it still helps. So you give it a good solid foundation of where to start. But over time, like for me, I've been using Gemini prominently for the past year. So I've had several conversations with it. It has a pretty good idea of how I'm going to respond, what I'm going to ask it, the different critiques I have on it as it's built, email campaigns, nurture campaigns for me, funnels, websites, all of the marketing things. It knows what I like and what I don't like. But yet still giving it that foundational stuff of like, here's emails that I've written, here's some podcasts that I've been on, just so you can understand my cadence and how I talk and everything. That still helps. But the nice part is that it remembers everything. There's been conversations where I'll ask it just a couple of questions just because I'm looking for some info really quick, and I'm like, all right, I don't need this in my sidebar anymore, so I'm just going to delete that chat. But then a couple of conversations later, it'll say, "Oh, you asked this question before," and it'll still pull up that info. So like it still remembers everything, which is
Oh,
a blessing and a curse because
yeah.
there's sometimes where you have to refine it and be like, no, that was a one-time thing. This does not apply. Don't do that. But I've also found that to be true for most of the LLMs anyway. But I mean, that's also where some of the other AIs really stand out as well. Like with Claude projects, you can keep everything very siloed where, okay, we only want to talk about we only want to have this perspective, talk about this tonality, this verbiage, this brand voice, and things like that, and then not have that bleed over into other conversations or other projects in Claude. I think that's one thing that it does really well. And you can still do that in Gemini. It's just you would need to add that bit more of context and detail of it of like, okay, we're going to be talking to this audience, or I'm presenting myself as this type of person, not the everyday person that you talk to.
Interesting. So yeah, so I could see like agencies probably using Claude, whereas maybe a personal
Oh yeah.
brand might use Gemini because it can just have all everything in one. Or if you're a mom and pop business or something like that, you might just use Gemini because it's always going to be in your tone and voice and that as long as you keep using it.
100%. Yeah. Even on the agency side, like I would have Gemini for the agency focused stuff. And then for more client facing stuff, I would use Claude just so you can keep everything siloed within the projects of, okay, this is their brand
Interesting.
voice. This is how they talk. This is their ICP. This is their avatar. And just keeping things separate that way.
Interesting. Man, I apparently need to play with Gemini some more. I don't use it very much. Um,
I'm
yeah,
a
what
big
else can
fan.
we do with this thing? Yeah, what else can we do with this thing? How
Um,
else do you use
let
it?
I mean, I've used it for building out presentations and slide decks for keynotes that I've done. There was earlier this year, I was a keynote speaker for a nursery and landscaping association here in Michigan, and they signed me up for two sessions. One talking about how they could use social media to help better their brand and put themselves out there more, and then the other side was AI. Like, how could we be using AI internally, not so much to replace people, but how can we be using it to optimize our office, our procedures, and all of that sort of stuff. And so I'm going through in Gemini, going, okay, if I'm in this field, because obviously I don't have a green thumb to save my life. My wife will confirm that. I know enough to mow the lawn, water the lawn, and that's pretty much it. If I try and grow something, guaranteed it's going to die. But um, talking about AI to this type of audience, I first off, like I'm trying to meet them where they are. I'm expecting them to
Mhm.
not be like neck deep into it as much as I am, but they've probably used it to some degree. Like most people in that space have used it in place of Google searching, which I think is where most AI is heading now. Like you're going to see Google searches start falling off. That's a whole different topic. But um, in creating these presentations, first I would go through Gemini and go, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is my first draft of an outline. First, I created it and then I put it in Gemini and said, how could I refine this? If you were and I told it, act as someone who owns a nursery and landscaping business. If you were to attend this event, what things are you looking to walk away with? What would you find valuable? What information could you take away and use instantly after this presentation? Because I want to come off and bring off as much value as possible. So
Mhm.
it would go through my outline, critique it, and then after that, I'm like, okay, this seems logical. This seems really nice. Put it all together. And then I start asking it, okay, help me build out some slides that accurately communicate what this section is going to talk about, what I'm going to talk about for like this 2 to 3 minutes. What is a slide that will help pretty much help communicate and land what I'll be talking about without making it overly wordy, overly like ridiculous or anything like that. And I mean, it took me a couple of tries per slide, but it came out with some really good stuff. That it looked really official. It almost looked like someone was taking a picture of it because it was mostly talking about SOPs and building trainings for internal
Mhm.
teams. Um, where a lot of people in that industry, their workbooks, the employee handbooks, stuff like that, it's just more of a, oh, this is a dust collector. Like check the box that says you read it and everything, go to the job, and then basically learn through hands-on training how to do stuff. Like, okay, but
That's
you
every
could
business.
also
Yeah.
it's it's a formality for the most part, right? Or at least it
Right.
feels that way.
Hmm.
So part of it was you can take that whole training handbook and you could create a custom GPT or a Google Gem, which is their version of a custom GPT, and then push that out to all of your employees. So if they have questions, especially on a job site, if they're not quite sure how to attack a certain project, but something that happens over and over again, they can refer to that. So instead of wondering or instead of calling back to the home office and asking more questions and stuff, they have it readily available on their phone through their AI app and do it that way. And a lot of people thought that was really cool. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
How, do you do much with automations in addition to the Gemini? Are you using it to set up a workflow to take an idea and then move it through multiple stages, maybe even to the point where it becomes a autoresponder or an automation for a lead gathering type of system, anything like that?
A little bit. So not directly all with AI. So like I use Go High Level a lot too. So I like to use the both of them
Hmm.
interchangeably. So I'll have AI help me create what that workflow automation within High Level should be. Um,
Okay.
and then also, so I also recently learned that there's a way, and I still have yet to test this and use it myself, but within Go High Level, there's ways you can create and set up your workflow automation to basically replace ManyChat. If you're familiar, if anyone who's not familiar with ManyChat, it's the whole, if you have a lead magnet, free or paid, whatever, you can say, hey, DM or comment this word. And then as soon as someone puts that in the comments, it within 1 or 2 minutes, it'll send them a direct message with your message and a link to whatever your lead magnet is. And I recently learned that you could also do that through Go High Level without needing to pay for the extra subscription through ManyChat.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I didn't know how he did it, but I know Dan Wardrope, I should say. I know he does something that is similar to that, and I know he uses Go High Level, so I'm assuming he probably uses the same type of thing.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, I like the concept of it just because it saves you a whole lot of time, and even for people like you and I, where we like to have conversations with people, it's still a great just conversation starter where you don't have to be on constantly just to start that conversation. If someone is looking for a piece of information, or if you have something, a piece of value that could be really nice for your audience to have, they can say, hey, I'm interested in this. You get the first message out there. That part can be automated, but then as soon as they respond to it, then you can, from there, then you, the person, can pick up that conversation and go, okay, like, hey, thank you so much for signing up for this. What do you plan on using it for? I see you're this company, you're servicing this people. Like, how else can I help you? How else can I be of value to you?
Mhm.
And I found that to be pretty valuable.
Yeah. And so that's the internal AI of Go High Level as opposed to connecting that to Gemini somehow.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I'll
Gotcha.
have. I know there's automations, and people have been using Claudebot and the whole Claude Code and all of that to do some of that AI automation, like basically cloning themselves to do a lot of that marketing stuff. I've heard of people creating even just the AI clones of themselves. I think who's Julia McCoy. She's a good friend of mine. She has a YouTube channel that really goes into a lot of how to clone yourself using AI and use it for marketing materials, reaching out to people, starting those conversations, so that way it frees up more time for you to focus on higher priority stuff. There's a lot of capabilities that are out there. Some of them I haven't used just because it's like got to find the time to do it and test it and all that stuff. And some of them it's also having the resources of it too. You think of like the Claude bot and how it's like, oh, it's the whole AI thing that gives you're giving complete access to your computer, whether if it's with the Mac Mini or whatever, and it'll
Hmm.
have all access to it. You can tell it what to do and everything. But I've also heard that it's heavy on the resource side of it too, because it takes up so many credits.
Sure.
And that's if you set it up right. And then also in the
Yeah.
fine print that some people have that they were excited, or not excited, I should say, but surprised to see, even though you would think this is standard, it's that in the fine print of some of these agentic AIs, it's you are completely responsible for whatever the AI does or creates. You know,
Right.
a lot of people assumed that, oh, if this company is providing the AI, then they should be responsible for what happens or what it does. But it's like, no, you brought it on, you gave it access to your stuff, your systems, your computer, your documents, files, everything, your name basically, and anything it produces, like you're on the hook for. So
Right.
got to be careful with some of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of the old days. You couldn't sue the telephone company because somebody called in a threat. It wasn't their fault.
Yep,
They were the utility. Somebody else did it. So the same type of
exactly.
thing. They're establishing that it's your your responsibility for what you
Yeah,
do with it.
they're the providers, but you're using what they're
Mhm.
providing, so it's still
Yeah.
on you.
Hmm. Interesting, man. So that's really, yeah, I apparently need to dive into Gemini a whole lot more. I didn't realize it could do all this stuff. I didn't realize that it could even connect just to my Gmail or other.
Mhm.
Does it connect with all Google services because you're logged in through your Google account? So you just use, it can do all that stuff?
Most of them. Some of the things it's a minor inconvenience for me, but it can't create a Google Doc or a Google spreadsheet for me. But
Hmm.
it can create a Google Keep note, which is Google's version of a note taking service or tool. Um, And so I can have information that if I'm asking it to create a spreadsheet or help me create an outline, presentation, script, whatever, and I want to save it so I don't lose it in this like long scrolling thing of conversation I'm having with it, I can say like, hey, save this as a note in Google Keep. And at least there I've got it saved where I can come back and recall it again. Um,
That's cool.
but yeah, like it still interacts with Google Drive pretty well, which I found to be very handy.
Hmm. That's cool. I liked what you were saying about for presentations. I don't necessarily make a lot of keynote type presentations, but what I could see very useful is if I'm having a conversation or I have an old video or something that of myself that I made,
Mhm.
giving it that video and then saying, take this concept and make a drawing of the concept so I have a visual of what it's
Oh,
saying.
100%.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be super useful because I prefer to have a visual, but I don't necessarily I'm always good at that. So even if I take it and draw it out myself later, I
Yep.
don't have to think about what that visual has to look like. They can take care of that and just put my framework or whatever into something that's nice and visual looking, which I know a lot of people like.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I'm in that same space where, especially in the creative side of things, I'm terrible at creating something from scratch. But once I
Hmm.
see like a version of it, I can go, okay, this is what I would improve. This is what I would enhance on it and go from
Right.
there. And
Hmm.
for me, that's another spot where AI has helped me a lot, where I need something first and then put in front of me and then I can go, okay, I can start to see the direction, or even this isn't quite the direction I thought, and now we can start guiding it from there. But if you handed me a blank piece of paper and said create something, I'm going to be stuck for so long, so I'm like, I have no idea what to do.
Same way. Same thing. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, it is super useful because you could take a workshop or a podcast episode, something like that. If there's been a lot of useful information or just content that was put there, you could take the recording, upload it into Gemini and say, hey, take the key points, or even tell it what the key points are. And then, help me create an infographic based on these key points. And it would be able to do that.
That's very cool. Well, yeah, I like that. And it could, I would imagine then you could probably also give it this and tell it can at least give you back, say, timestamps of interesting
Mhm.
areas if you were going to clip them and make videos out of it. That's something I will have to do with this interview. Have it find me the cool areas to turn into clips to put on. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that it can do that. Yeah, see, these are ways I've never even thought about using
Right.
AI.
I know that
Yep.
that's why I love having conversations like this. Like everyone's got a different perspective, different use cases, and you never know what I mean. Because we see all the stuff from all of the big name players and all the stuff in AI. They have the teams behind them where they can test and try out all of these different products and tools and everything. But for us, we're like for me, I'm a one man show, so I don't have
Hmm.
that team behind me. I'm not big enough for that yet. So it's like I need to focus on the 2 to 3 tools that work best for me and use those as best as I can before I even think about expanding to anything else.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. Maybe that should be your next product to be a Gemini how to use and all the different pieces of that. Because I didn't know about the connections. The connections seem to me to be the most valuable part. I'm using Google for everything else. So as that,
Mhm.
I'm sure it's only going to get better and integrate with more Google products. So
Yep.
that will be a very big leverage point in the future, I think.
I know what one big reminder I think that I see a lot, and I think Gary Vee talks about it a lot, is you think about where AI is today. This is in AI in its current format right now. It doesn't matter if anyone's watching this recording a month from now or anything like that. As soon as we say this today, this is the worst that AI will be
Sure.
until the next day. And then it's always improving. It's always improving.
Hmm.
Like as we see, it seems like every other week there's some major feature, new feature added, new update. And then as soon as, you know, Claude comes out with an update, suddenly GPT comes out with an update, and then Gemini comes out with an update. Like everyone's trying to keep up with each other. So
Right.
it's always changing.
It's a lot. It's always a lot. So yeah, if you don't have to, yeah, having a source that can show you even the fundamental stuff that I didn't even realize was possible is great.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you also are doing a group. Is that how you're thinking of running this? You're kind of a help get social done and get things done kind of stuff. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So it's something I'm working on right now. It's not fully polished yet. Still putting out the minor tweaks and stuff like that to it. But It's we're calling it the GSD lab, so it focuses on the whole get social done GSD moniker. Used to have a podcast called get stuff done.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun to talk with people about all the challenges and stuff that they got through. But kind of bringing the whole acronym back of like this is the lab where we help you get stuff done. So if you're stuck on pretty much my big three, which is AI, ads, and high level. Just because they work so interchangeably. If you have an existing offer, if you're trying to come up with a new offer and you need a landing page built for it, and maybe some workflows and automations on the high level side, you want to run some ads to it. Maybe you want to have AI help refine it, iterate it a bit more. And this group is for you. This is meant to be more a peer-to-peer group, but also access to me as well. Kind of being that jack of all trades in that space of like, oh, I know how to do this or how to do that. If you have a video that's put together, like we can go through and run through that and be like, okay, this would be like this could work, and here's how we can make this better. Because for the longest time, I've been called a creative enhancer rather than a creator. Going back to the whole like,
Okay.
give me a blank page, I'm going to stare at it for hours on end, but give me something to critique and enhance and stuff. I can go through that no problem. So this is where I'm trying to let those talents of mine shine. Where if people need some help, if they feel stuck, or if there's a project or an idea that they want to flush out, this is the space to do it. Where you're not paying an arm and a leg for an agency, a group, or something like that could take you weeks to do it and finish it. We can get it done in just a few days, and that way you can start getting it out there. You can start testing it. Because I mean that's really in the marketing space for us that you're only going to know if something works or not by testing it and getting social proof, either putting the idea out there and finding out if people are interested, or if you don't have the audience, you have put it together, at least put a wait list or some type of teaser together and see how many people would be interested in it, and then it helps validate, and that way if this is something that's worth your attention and your time, or maybe you need to pivot.
Hmm. I like it. And I like it that you're focusing on, I mean, you kind of got the holy trinity there. You got the GHL, ads, and AI. It's
Yep.
probably the most lean model or that runs most businesses, especially expert-based businesses, can easily be run on just those three. So that's a fantastic. People don't need to get 100 different tools and this and that. With just these three,
Exactly.
you can run everything you need.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, high level, it's got your website, your funnels, your CRM, the workflows and automations and everything. Ads is going to help push
Mhm.
traffic to it. There's a way where, again, we can set those up where you're not paying 20, 30, $50 a day just to get traffic and all that stuff. You can do it for less than that. And then AI is just going to help us come up with different perspectives and different ways to get that messaging out there. And come up with different perspectives, even different ad copies, different landing page copy. And all of that, because I also say this myself because I've also had this happen where you always think you are your own target audience. You see this in brick and mortar businesses, you see it with digital businesses and everything. You're like, oh, I'm going to come out with this type of offer, this type of business because I understand this. I'm this kind of person, but
Mhm.
not everyone thinks and views everything the way that you do. So it's always nice to have that different perspective of, even though that type of copy, that type of video, that type of image may not land with you, that's not to say it's a failure because it could land with other people.
Right. For sure. I love it, man. Where can people find you? Where should they get a hold of this or get on the, I know you're doing a wait list for this group. Where should people go for
Yep.
this?
Yep. So it's super easy. It's just getsocialdone.com. The form is up there. The wait list is up there. And it's just a real quick, just showing me that you're interested. You're not signing up for anything. I'm not asking for credit card info, anything like that. It's just show me that you're interested. And, within the next week or two, I should have it ready to go. And that way people have the chance to sign on or not.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Jason. That was
Thanks,
fantastic.
James.
There's a lot I didn't even know about AI and especially Gemini, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. This has been great.